All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live with Otter Talk for the Platinum League. It's quarterfinals. I am Trax, and joining me is the Bully and Fury. How are both of you doing today?
I'm good. I'm eating food. I'm good.
You know, it's been pretty solid. Yesterday was a pretty late night, and
It
hopefully it's
was.
not another late night.
We'll see. It might be. But yeah, so we had some technical difficulties with the audio. We fixed it. We're good to go. It's time to hop in and talk about the quarterfinal standings, the power rankings, who we feel is where. It's gonna be interesting. We see some differences. It looks like a little bit coming into power rankings in a second here, and then we have match predictions after that. So without further ado, let's talk about these power rankings. And it's a little different this week. We see up at the top, Fury, you have put the Undying Tyrants as the number one seed in your current power rankings. I have a feeling I know why, but go ahead and kind of walk me through why you have put Undying Tyrants as the strongest team heading into these quarterfinal matchups.
So I based all of my power rankings on my predictions,
Okay.
and I think Undying Tyrants. I have them as a 3-0 tonight,
Okay. All right.
or at least a 3-1. I think they're gonna have. I don't want to say an easier time because I don't want to say any disrespect towards Dragonclaw Cloud, but I feel like TA Spectre and CB Rush and Absolute Esports and Ruby are gonna be a much closer game, I should say, than Tyrants and Cloud.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, you have put CB Ruby in the number one spot. A few of our casters also agree with you. So, kind of tell me as to why you feel CB Ruby is the strongest team coming into this first best of five for the majority of teams in playoffs right now.
I mean, I think it's pretty hard to say who we actually could is the best team besides going off from just straight standings. I think a lot of these teams are beatable, and we haven't seen this in a couple seasons where
Yeah.
I feel like the number one team can just easily drop within the week. So I just gave CB Ruby the top spot is because they have been playing very well. I feel like their only loss was in week one, and they definitely made upgrades from them from that point, and they haven't lost since. So I give them the top spot, but I do think they're still very beatable.
Okay. So, kind of piggybacking off of that idea, then, uh, it looks like everyone kind of has these teams all over the place. We see Lancers pretty heavily in second here, a couple Undying in first, CB anywhere between first to third, and then we see some Rush, second, third, fourth. So my question to, I guess, Fury, and then we'll go with Bully right after
Mhm.
is this kind of a toss-up season, or do you feel that there is a kind of clear-cut number one, number two seed that you're expecting to make it to finals? Or is this kind of just we'll just kind of roll the dice and see who ends up in the end?
So originally, I kind of did expect at least one of these CB teams to make it to the end. Obviously, if you're looking at my uh, picks, I kind of still am, but they're gonna have a hard time tonight. I mean, Spectre or Absolute could easily come up with a just a sudden insane
Hmm.
play, and and just sweep us out from under our feet with
Okay.
a crazy set. Same with Dragonclaw, really. Um, I still think it's anyone's game. I don't think there's any clear cut, dry team that's guaranteed going into the next round.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly don't see like um a team that's 100% like straight up guaranteed. I think I guess we'll talk about matchup in a little bit, but
Hmm.
like there are a couple teams where it's like I don't have a lot of confidence in moving on, but it's almost like anyone on a good day has a chance to beat anyone in
Hmm.
these remaining
Okay.
eight teams.
All right. So then my follow-up question, you Bully, is in your power rankings, would you say that there's a cutoff somewhere? Like, what team would you say that to the right of it is doubtful for advancing at any point? Is there anything in
Uh,
there, or do you think it's like,
on my power rankings,
yeah?
I think the only one that I'm more doubtful than anything is Titan Gaming
Okay.
Obsidian. I do think they had a great series last week. They almost got reverse swept, but they, brought it home with the game 5
Mhm.
victory. But I think Dragonclaw on like a very good day, if they're playing to their full potential,
Mhm.
they look really, really good. But the only problem is their consistency is not theirs. Hasn't been there for the entire season.
Yeah.
But Absolute, TA Spectre, and just of course the top four, they look really good at some points. And you
Okay.
saw the standings the entire season, and they were extremely close. So I wouldn't put it past any of these teams to actually like just roll over and die.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a good point because if you look at the standings, Dragonclaw Cloud coming in 4-3, 10-9 overall, right? Third place in Hextech, which is arguably a very tough division to CB Ruby, GSG Sigma, CB Rush, right? Absolute Esports as well, and Titan Giving. So definitely some difficult competition on that side. But it looks like the vast majority of people have slotted them in that second to last, that seventh place seed within the power ranking. So Fury, my question to you is, do you feel that people, including yourself, have slotted Dragonclaw Cloud so low because of this kind of roller coaster that you've been seeing throughout the season? And if they're able to play at their peak, where do you see them potentially fitting in within your rankings?
I think I have them towards the seventh place just because, like you said, they've kind of been up and down. Maybe a little bit of a rocky start. I think if they do come into their own and end up winning tonight, I would probably put them up towards a third seed.
Okay.
Um, just because of who they're up against and
Mm-hmm.
if they're able to take out Tyrants, because Tyrants was undefeated up until they won against CB, right? And then CB ended up taking him down from that. So being able to take them out, be a pretty big upset tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And one of the teams that we've been kind of tracking throughout the season, the roster changes, as well as past seasons that you've kind of talked about, Billy, earlier, is one of the teams that would come in and you kind of knew, all right, well, they're playing in the league. Maybe next season we have a chance to win it. It is CB Rush,
Hmm.
coming in as back-to-back defending champions. They've been kind of dropped a little bit within these power rankings. So kind of walk me through as to why everyone has kind of pushed CB Rush back a bit at the end of
I
this
mean,
season.
because they haven't had like a solidified 5
Mm-hmm.
starting roster for like the entire season, and they just kept on fluctuating. They didn't have their powered players on the team. Like they had Acid last year, they had Bender last year, they had even some better players before
Mm-hmm.
that, and they just don't have those players anymore. They have some somewhat known players on their roster, but they just got those fives at the end of the season, and we haven't seen a ton from them to make them seem like the best team in the league.
Yeah, yeah. And to follow up with that, Fury, would you be worried if you're a CB Rush player or a CB Rush fan coming into quarters here? Or do you think this should be a just kind of get it out of the way, or do you think they could be potentially slipping up here?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'd be pretty worried. CB Rush had a very, very good start, and then towards the end, lost a couple games through a couple pretty big games. And Spectre have looked relatively consistent throughout the split. Not necessarily great all the way through or bad all the way through, but consistent in their play style. So Spectre, I would say that's going to be one of the closer games tonight. I think it might even go 5 games
Okay.
potentially. Uh, I do still think CB will end up winning, but TA is going to make it very hard for them.
Got you. All right. And then one of the teams we're going to talk about next, it is the Lancers Esports coming in as the number one seed in Infernal. We've seen them pretty consistently sit second place throughout the majority of the season. They were able to kind of pull it off towards the back half of it. Bully, what are your thoughts on the Lancers coming into quarters here?
I mean, they have a pretty good roster.
Yeah.
Like, um, they've shown pretty consistently that they could absolutely demolish teams in midseason tournament. I don't know
Mhm.
how many teams are actually playing like 100% try hard, but they
Yeah.
of course won the whole thing. And they've proven that they can take on any of these teams quite easily, and I don't see them. I guess losing this week. Of course, they're going against Titan,
Hmm.
uh, Esports Obsidian, but I do think they can be. I guess they can fluctuate in like a best of five. I think they can be exposed in a best of five if you get
Hmm.
break someone's mental. Honestly,
Okay. Yeah, that'll be definitely something that we can kind of look at when we go in matchups here. Up next, though, it is TA Spectre coming in at third. They have been slotted by both of you in fifth place. So, Fury, give me the rundown on TA Spectre here.
Again, TA Spectre have looked pretty good all season. They've been pretty consistent. I don't have them winning tonight. I do still think they can. I think if they do, they're going to move up quite a bit
Okay.
in the rankings, depending on how the other games go. Again, we can see some pretty insane upsets tonight.
We could,
Like
yeah.
if either Undying or Lancers lose tonight, that's a
Hmm.
big change
Yeah.
that we're going to be seeing coming in, and that's going to drastically change my thoughts on TA Spectre if they end up winning.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. And before we take a look at predictions, let's talk about Absolute Esports here. Coming in as the fifth place seed in Hextech again. Pretty difficult division, coming in at 4-3, 10-9 overall game score. They have been slotted in that sixth place spot for the majority of you. They kind of pop up third place, fourth place, and then in last, depending on which caster you ask. But Bully, how you feeling about Absolute coming into quarters?
honestly, I might have put them like sixth, but I honestly think that they would be my underdog to win the whole thing.
Hmm.
The reason I think their team is extremely good.
Hmm.
We've seen them beat some of the teams above them, like CB Rush, CB Ruby. Of course, CB Ruby's a little bit different, but they have the potential to absolutely demolish some of these teams. Last week, they won their wildcard match in a 3-0 fashion.
Yeah.
There might have been some external issues with ISU, but like they still came to play. And any team that has to go against them um, cannot take him for granted. And unfortunately, they do play CB Ruby first, but I could confidently say absolutely could pretty much easily beat any team um, in the league right now,
Yeah,
even though I have them six.
Yeah,
for
I would
sure.
probably agree with that. I think if anybody's gonna do an upset tonight, it's probably gonna be Absolute.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is while they are in sixth place, the first to sixth is so small that you just kind of have to move teams around.
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's I could literally throw
Hmm.
some darts at a dartboard for this power rankings.
That's
Besides
true.
like my couple last two picks, like I said, the stands are so close.
That's great though.
When there's
Yeah.
teams that are just getting absolutely demolished on teams that
Hmm.
they should be, and then those teams losing against teams they should lose to, or like it. We saw it from the very beginning of the season. The standings changed so drastically. Like it came
Yeah.
down to the very last few games to determine who's actually going to make playoffs.
Yeah, it was definitely nuts. A lot of seating changes at the very end of it as well. But I think that's what makes for such a great season, especially as casters, fans watching. You don't really know what team's going to end up where, especially heading into playoffs. All these teams are so close in skill comparison right now. It's going to make for some amazing best of fives tonight and moving forward. But with that, it is now time to talk about the predictions. And it looks like we agree on quite a few things this evening. So, first game we're going to talk about it is the number 5 seed Titan Gaming Obsidian coming in to take on the number 1 Lancer Esports. Everyone has selected Lancer Esports to win this best of 5. So, we're going to start off with Fury here. You have selected Lancer Esports. Give me the breakdown as to why you believe they win and what is your series score.
Yeah, this is another one of those things where I'm gonna try my hardest not to sound like a jerk, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I think this is gonna be the quickest series of the night. For a 3-0 for Lancer, and specifically because they have looked insane uh, all series and have a great roster. They're number one for a reason. They're sitting at 5-2,
Mm-hmm.
33 points. Titan Gaming, realistically, barely making it by the skin of their teeth. into quarters here.
Okay, fair enough. Bully, you've also selected Lancers, but we're going to let you play devil's advocate for a little bit. So, what are the odds that Lancers can be upset here by Titan Gaming?
It's definitely the least um confidence I have in a team
Okay.
upsetting. Um, but we did see Kohler like 1v9 the Cats last week, and I feel like if that gets through, it puts him into a better, I guess, like skill level than what his rank
Hmm.
shows. So if Lancers does like greed or just like say, just let the cast through and Kohler just burns him with it and it keeps happening,
Hmm.
that's like an avenue of Lancers to lose. If Lancers plays like how they usually do, I think this should be a very simple
Okay.
win. But it's definitely an uphill battle for TGO, especially because they have to replace one of their players at the end of the season, and it definitely heavily affects them.
Yeah, fair. Fury, what was your series score final?
3-0.
3-0. Bully, how about you?
Yeah, it's a 3-0 for
3-0.
me.
All right, 2-3-0. So definitely Titan Gaming definitely have a chance to shock the league if they're able to pull out an upset against Lancer Esports, but we shall see how that game happens in a little bit. Next game we are going to talk about, it is CB Rush up against TA Spectre. CB Rush coming in as the number 2 seed out of Hex Tech. TA Spectre coming in as the number 3 seed out of Infernal. This should be a great best of 5 match tonight, but everyone has selected CB Rush. So, Bully, you went with CB Rush. Tell me why you went with CB Rush and what is your series score at the end of
To be honest, I was gonna put TA Spectre to win
it?
it.
Okay. It
Um,
was
but
close.
I didn't want double like major upsets
Mm-hmm.
in this, so I
You
decided.
could only go for
Yeah,
absolute. You
that
didn't
makes
want two
sense. Yeah.
upset. That can't happen.
Yeah,
Only
so
one.
like,
Everybody
yeah,
gets one.
even though it could happen, right? But like,
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I do have CB Rush. I think win the whole thing. Do I?
Hmm.
No, I have Undying Tyrants winning the whole thing, but I do
Ooh,
have
okay.
CB Rush in final. So like maybe I should just put CB Rush like moving on. But I
Mm-hmm.
100% think that this is not a confidence CB Rush pick. This is like a 55-45
Okay.
because I don't know how well CB Rush is going to synergize. I think just from past experience of playing in play, I think Relish could just 1v9 the series and it could be a
Mm-hmm.
3-0.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like TS Spectre has been known for playing very like somewhat consistently, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they could just duke it out for 5 games and win it
Yeah.
in 5. Honestly,
All right. So, what's your prediction here for the
I don't
series?
think it's gonna be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 3-1 CB Rush,
Okay.
but like I said, it's not a very confident score.
Okay. Fury, how about you? You've also went with CB Rush, so I need your series score, and then how confident are you in Rush?
I think it's a minimum 3-1. I think more than likely it's going to be a 3-2. I do still think Rush is going to win. I think Spectre is going to make it very close if it does go to a game 5. They could easily turn it around and win it, but I do think CB Rush 80% on my scale of 100.
Okay, so a little more confidence than Bully has right now in Rush. Okay, fair enough. Well, let's talk about another CB team. The next match we're going to talk about, it is the 5th seed Absolute Esports coming in and taking on CB Ruby. Both these teams coming out of the Hex Tech division, and it looks like we're a little bit more split than usual. You have selected Absolute Esports win, but we're split on the panel. So, Bully, you have gone with the upset of Absolute Esports over CB Ruby. Kind of walk me through why you feel that this is the biggest potential for an upset here.
I mean, for the past couple of seasons, we've always had that one Cinderella team, right? Like a fifth
Yeah.
seed that makes it to like semis, basically. And I think this is the absolute season. They showed what they could do last week, but I feel like Ruby might underestimate at the very beginning, and that might make them falter. Especially because
Hmm.
when you know you're coming in as a 1 seed, you definitely have a higher confidence in yourself. And when you're the underdog, you know that no one's expecting you to win, but if you win, it's huge.
True.
And I don't think it's like that one seed that's absolutely cracked that they just don't lose games.
Mhm.
CB Ruby did lose like 5 games total in the season, and one of them was the absolute. Or
Mhm.
2 of them were the absolute. So I think absolute
Mhm.
just have a very good shot at winning this, and I think they, like I said, it could be the Cinderella story.
Okay, fair enough. Theory, on the other hand, you disagree. This is not the Cinderella story. According to your predictions here, CB Ruby walk away with the win at the end of the day. So tell me why you went with CB Ruby and what your final game score is.
So, like I said earlier, I do still think that if anyone's going to have an upset tonight, it will be absolute. As opposed to last game, where I think it might, maybe, probably will go 3-2. I think this series definitely goes 3-2. Full 5 games
All
in
right.
favor of CB Ruby.
Okay, fair enough. Last but not least, we have our final game to discuss. It is the number 2 seed Undying Tyrants taking on the number 3 seed Dragonclaw Cloud. Tyrants hailing out of Infernal and Dragonclaw Cloud coming out of Hex Tech. Looking at it, two of our casters went with Dragonclaw Cloud, but everyone else went with Undying Tyrants. Bully, I believe you said earlier that you actually have Undying Tyrants winning the entire tournament. So kind of walk me through why you feel they win this series, and then how confident you are with your picks for this bracket.
Well, I wanted them to win because no one else picked them, and I was like,
Fair,
I
okay, okay.
I want to win my own RP.
No, okay, fair enough. Yeah. All right, that's smart.
So, but I do think it could be a tough match for Undying Tyrants. I said Dragonclaw on a good day looks like a completely different team than they usually do,
Mhm.
and it's without a doubt that Undying Tyrants played well for the most of the season, but they faltered in week 7 against UCF Lancers. So we could have very well seen Undying Tyrants as a 1 seed, but unfortunately they do drop. And
Mhm.
even last week, if Dragonclaw lost, they would have been out of playoffs. So it's depending on what kind of Dragonclaw team we see this week. I think Undying Tyrants is a lot more consistent in their gameplay than Dragonclaw, but Dragonclaw definitely has the stuff to win. But I do think Undying Tyrants is going to take it home 3-1.
Okay, 3-1. All right, so Fear, my question to you then is Undying Tyrants, what is your series score? And then is there a world in which you see Dragonclaw Cloud coming in and upsetting them and heading to semifinals?
I wouldn't say it. There's a way for them to really win. I mean, obviously, there's always a way for them to win.
Hmm?
In my mind, I don't see it though. I think it's
Okay.
very low percentage, mainly because Undying Tyrants is a very solid second seed. Changed only by 1 game to UCF Lancers, whereas Dragonclaw Cloud tied for third with 2 other teams. Realistically, you know, barely made it into 3rd seed. And even on a good day, I don't think they beat the 5th seed in Infernal.
Okay.
So I think they did all right for their league, coming in behind Rush and Ruby, but 3-0, maybe a 3-1 Undying Tyrants.
Okay, fair enough. That will wrap it up for predictions, but we're going to ask a couple more questions before we throw it to a break. Up first, Theory.
Mhm.
I guess this question is for both of you. Looking at the overall teams in both divisions, what division at the end of the season do you feel was the better division?
Infernal, just without a
Okay.
shadow of a doubt. Only because, like, you have Ruby and Rush,
Mhm.
sure, which make up a majority of Hex Tech. But UCF Lancers, Tyrant, Spectre,
Mhm.
ISU, even Titan, Obsidian, all played very well throughout their split. I would even say Collective Sigma played very well.
Okay.
And I think any one of those teams that are in 4th through 6th place would have beat anybody in 3rd through 8th place on Hex Tech.
Okay. All right. Same question to you, Bully. Hextech up against Infernal. Who's got the better division and why?
I think the overall division, if we're taking on every team that even didn't make playoffs, I think it was Inferno as well. I think
Okay.
it's more based upon like how Glacial Carnage, Revolution,
Mhm.
Tiny Gaming, Violet, they weren't like contesting these
Okay.
I guess playoff spots as well. But Blue Easter's Fire had we're making a run
They were
to
close.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Collective
close.
Sigma literally lost because of head to head and not making playoffs. Like these teams are very evenly matched. If we're talking about the top couple teams, um, they're a lot closer, but it I think it's just the overall strength stems from like those couple couple teams.
Okay, got you. All right, well, we're going to throw it to a quick break. And when we are back on stream 1, you'll see number 2 seeded CB Rush taking on number 3 seeded TA Spectre. And on stream 2, Absolute Esports coming in as the number 5th seed, taking on CB Ruby as the number 1 seed. We will be right back in just a few minutes with some amazing best of 5 action for quarterfinals of the Platinum League. Until next week, take care.